Now, I know you love video games, and I asked the clerk which is the one every boy wants.
You got me. Oh, yeah!
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Speed Check again. 2 times in a row. I can't believe it. We're still going. First of all, you might have noticed, I don't know what's going on with my camera here. I don't know what's up. I've got these dots. They're all over the place. But we're going to power through because we're going to talk about a jam-packed, action-packed, fast-paced episode of AEW Dynamite. Debuted in Toronto, Canada. The crowd was electric. They are one of the reasons that this show was so good. So I am excited to talk about it. Let me know in the chat, what did you guys think of this episode? And hopefully we can all agree that it was a pretty good episode. So without further ado, let us get into this episode. Shout out to Carnage Rage for joining me live. If you're watching this after the show's gone live, leave your comments. Let me know, what did you think of the show? We always answer the comments. If it's not me, it could be Zach. If it's not Zach, it could be Naki. You never know who you're gonna get, but you do know we're gonna answer. Carnage Rage, yeah, this time it's me. We're gonna go ahead and start off this review. We start off, Renee opens the show. As you know, Renee is all elite. She is a part of the show now. She is a smart way to introduce the show, you know, get a fellow Canadian out there. I dig it. But Renee opens the show up and she is interrupted by Christian Cage. It was a nice way to start the show, honestly. I think giving the Canadian crowd to beloved Canadians in wrestling is a good way to go. And we get into Jungle Boy Jack Perry versus Luchasaurus. I'll be honest, I think this crowd made the match better than I was expecting. I mean, props to Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus because I wasn't sold on them one-on-one. I didn't necessarily want to see them wrestle, but they worked well together. They had a mini story going on of who was going to go through the table that Luchasaurus set up. Jungle Boy put him through it with a very nice sunset powerbomb. Let's see, checking my notes here. I will say that Christian Cage is a great heel commentator. Zach mentioned this while we were watching the show live, but you know, Christian Cage gave reasons for why he did what he did. He was hyping up Luchasaurus. He was putting down Jungle Boy, and he was entertaining. So props to Christian on commentary. Halfway through the match, Christian would leave the commentary table to go help Luchasaurus. There was only so much he could do because he is still injured. But after a distraction from Christian, Luchasaurus would get the win. And honestly, I think them giving this match away on TV and Luchasaurus getting the win means we're going to get one more match, probably like a special tables match or lights out or something. We're going to get another match. This is not it. But yeah, the crowd honestly did a nice job. I think the crowd pushed this match. Like, if it wasn't for this Toronto crowd, I don't think we'd be talking about this match as favorably. Because it wasn't bad. It just, I don't know. I think on the US, it wouldn't be as hyped. But it was a great match. The crowd was into it. We had Luchasaurus chants. We had Jungle Boy chants. So I'm going to say this was a very high energy start to the show. Props to that. Next up, Matt Hardy and Private Party. They have a segment where they are having an issue with the firm. Apparently the firm bought Private Party's contract from Andrade family office, and Private Party just wants to be free. They want to be free of all this contract business. Matt Hardy had a change of heart and he wants to help them be free. So now on Rampage, we're going to get Isaiah Cassidy versus Ethan Page. If Ethan Page wins, then Private Party is free. If if Isaiah Cassidy wins, they are free. If Ethan Page wins, then Matt Hardy now works for the firm. I don't like the storyline at all. I really don't. But even more than not liking the storyline personally, I think there's a problem that this entire episode of Dynamite honestly set up a lot of Rampage matches, and this is just one of them. This is the first one of them. So I'm gonna say this segment was a detour. It was honestly a detour to set up a Rampage match. That's what it was. Next up, Samoa Joe and Wardlow. Ward Joe, you hear this term so many times in this short squash match. I think they said this phrase like 5 times. Ward Joe, Ward Joe, Ward Joe. I'm tired of it. It's done to death. But Ward Joe goes after the Factory in what was basically a squash match. And I mean, it makes sense because they are TNT and ROH TV champions. So, you know, make them look strong. I appreciate that. I think the crowd really pushed this squash match too. Like, this was a fun squash to watch because of the crowd. They were into it. They were chanting Joe. They were chanting for the symphony. They were into this squash. So I give this one a squash match that was propelled by the crowd. The crowd really pushed it. And we're going to go into the chat real quick. Carnage Rage is saying that Samoa Joe needs to drop the TV title because he wants to go after the World Championship now that Jericho has it. We're going to mention the plans for Jericho later on in the show because we did have Jericho versus Bryan Danielson. Sorry, I literally ate like a bunch of saltines before this and my mouth is dry as hell. But yeah, we're going to get into the World Championship for ROH later on. And Zach in the chat, because Zach is the main man, the provider, saying Ward Joe is holding back 2 talents that should be a bigger deal. And I agree. Unless they're going for a tag run, I don't necessarily know why they're together. Unless this ends with them going at each other for a title, I'm not too into it. But for today, present day, squash match that the crowd pushed to the moon. And the crowd was into it. And after the squash match, FTR, 7-star FTR, come out, and this is the second time a Rampage match was set up. They set up a 6-man tag match with Shawn Spears, the returning, I guess, Shawn Spears, to face, what's their name? The Embassy, Brian Cage and the Embassy. So we'll see. As Naki pointed out in the chat, it's interesting that now Brian Cage is signed with ROH, he's on AEW more, but yeah. It is what it is. Next up, the Jericho Appreciation Society. They have themselves a little segment. Jericho is hyping up the match, and he's saying that he didn't want to hurt Daniel Garcia, but he had to. And he wants him back, but he also had to hurt him. I mean, it was a segment. It was a segment. That's exactly what it was. In its literal definition, it was a segment. So with that, we go on to Daddy Ass Billy Gunn versus Swerve Strickland. Oh man, never in my life did I think I would ever say the sentence, "Scissor me, Daddy Ass." I love it. This match, in all honesty, I have to give Tony Khan props for this match because he's put in a weird situation where Swerve has to turn heel and he should win this match, but Billy Gunn is very popular, very beloved. We had "Oh Scissor Me Daddy." We had so many scissoring chants. The Acclaim came out with a very nice rap that the crowd loved. So I give them props for Swerve picking up the win by holding onto the ropes because he has to win. He's Swerve Strickland. He has to win this match. But he can't win it clean because Billy Gunn his stock is so high right now. So they handled this one right. I'm going to say the crowd continues to fuel the show. And scissoring is the hottest thing you can do, baby. And I should also mention Smart Mark came out afterwards and he announced that he legally owns the phrase "scissor me." So I guess we're going into a program where it's going to be the Acclaimed versus Smart Mark over the right to scissor as they wish. That's right, let me get some scissors in the chat, baby. But we'll see where it goes. I hope they don't do it to death. Like, I hope they don't ruin this scissor me thing, because these things work best when they are genuine, and doing a storyline around it might kind of push it too far. We'll see. Real quick, we're gonna take I'm gonna answer this question real quick. Dynamite or Raw? I'm gonna do the whole review of Dynamite and then I'll answer that question, because I feel like that's the right way to do it. That's a fair way to do it. Next up, MJF gives a promo backstage where he explains what is he going to shake Wheeler Yuta's hand, but before that, I can't even forget his name. Stokely interrupts, and MJF just roasts him. Nice little funny moment that shows MJF really has no loyalty, really has no allegiance. And then MJF goes into a speech about how he doesn't want to be the villain, but he has to be. That's his role in life, and he accepts it. He hates himself, but he is going to be the villain. And honestly, I really like this one. I thought this was MJF's best promo since he's come back. And I made this graphic before the next segment. The MJF gives a passionate promo that puts him in the lead. I don't know if it's the best promo of the night, because I really like the next one. But I think I can say this is the best solo promo of the night. So I guess we'll go with that technicality. MJF gives a nice promo for tonight. A really good one. Transitioning straight into Tony Schiavone announcing that next week on Tuesday Night Dynamite, that we will see Moxley versus Hangman. Moxley comes out and he gives a promo about how not everyone is cut out to be the world champion. This could be a shot at CM Punk, we'll never know. Probably is. But he gives a promo about how not everyone can be world champion, how it's hard once you get there, some people crack. Hangman comes out and Hangman starts screaming at him, I am a man, I am a man, I am a man. And honestly, I actually really did like this promo. The punching and the screaming of the man thing did kind of pop me at one point. It had me corpsing. But I really like this one, because I think Hangman, I know Zach is going to have a different opinion on this, but I think Hangman is the most consistent hero in AEW. There's nobody else who I think of. I think of like the biggest face in AEW. Moxley's the tweener. CM Punk took his ball and left. I can't think of anyone else who I would say is the face. And I think this was some of that cowboy shit that Hangman used to have in his prime. So I'm down for this. MJF is watching from the crowd, and props to the arena, props to the crowd, because they kept MJF involved almost as much as the camera cuts did, if not more. They were chanting for MJF. They kept looking towards MJF. So this felt like a three-way promo without MJF saying a thing, and I mean, that's impressive for a crowd to do that. I'm going to say that this promo blazed the path to next week's Dynamite. I am excited to see this. I'm actually going to miss it. I think I'm going to be working, so I'm excited to see the internet see it, but I wish I could see it. Next up, we've got Jericho versus Danielson 3 for the ROH World Championship. Now, this match, I am very glad it didn't main event. I am very glad, because I'm not a fan of Jericho. I'm not, but I'm going to try and be objective. The match was solid. It was honestly a solid match between the two of them. Bryan Danielson adjusted very nicely to the... I don't want to say they were hostile, because it's hard to be hostile to Bryan Danielson because he's that good. But there were times when they were rooting for their fellow countryman, Chris Jericho, and Bryan Danielson played along with it. He was like a mini heel in this match without being overtly heelish. And honestly, I think this might have been... I don't know, I think 90% of this match was their best match. I didn't like the finish, because the finish is when Daniel Garcia comes out with the title. He pretends like he's going to help Bryan Danielson, but he hits him with the title belt. Jericho gets the pin, 1, 2, 3. I don't understand why Daniel Garcia did this. Daniel didn't look happy to do it. He didn't look like he was like like a master plan, but I still don't like it. I don't think this was the way to go, because we all know it's going to be Daniel Garcia versus Jericho for the title, but I just don't think this was worth it. I think this was just for shock value, and that shock had no value. But the match itself, I'm going to say that it was a solid title match that had every Canadian in attendance weeping tears of joy because they got to see Chris Jericho. It's been 5 years since Jericho wrestled in Canada, and they got to see him. They even sang their own Judas, even though Jericho came out to a different song, his Lionheart song. It was okay. Solid title match. Next up, Nyla Rose and the Vicious Vixens. Apparently Nyla Rose has stolen the TBS title, and she's claiming she is TBS champion. Now, instead of Jade coming into this, randomly Anna Jay shows up, and I can't tell who's the face in this scenario, but Anna Jay says, hey, I want to fight you on Rampage, because of course we're setting up so many Rampage matches. And I guess if I win, I get that title. And props to Nyla, because she had some really cool references. I personally love the quote, possession is 9/10 of the law. And Zach, I think he popped for the Judge Dredd line. So, Nyla was pretty cool in this one. I don't know why Anna Jay's going for this, but whatever. And this is the third Rampage match set up on Dynamite. I don't know why that bugs me so much, but there was a lot of them on Dynamite tonight, so it just does. But I'm going to say this was another Rampage detour. Zach throwing shots at RC Cola Arena. Zach, standing is much better than sitting. It was a full standing room arena. They stood for all 2 hours, and I'm assuming they filmed something before and after that, because they always do. But you know what? When you got that much entertainment, you don't need to sit. Next up, let's talk about the women's tag match. Toni Storm and Hikaru Shida versus Dr. Britt Baker, D.M.D, and Jamie Hayter. I honestly think this was the best match of the night up to this point. This was it was a refresher. First of all, this was the first match of the card to have a clean finish. This was the only women's match, and I think that they made the time work. It was really well done. Everyone looked strong. Shida had a lot of support from Canada, a lot of Shida chants out there. And I honestly think that this match was good. Didn't need any gimmicks. Didn't need anything flashy. It was just a solid match that felt refreshing, and I'm glad it worked out that way. I wish they had more time, or at least another women's match, because we had 4 Rampage setups and only 1 women's match. But hey, what are you gonna do? Also, the fact that as soon as the match started, it went to picture-in-picture, and as soon as the match ended, we went to the next segment. That kind of sucked, but it is what it is. Carnage Rage, I didn't see your question. Can you say it again for me, man? Let me see it one more time. But in regards to the women's tag match, I'm going to say that it was a high-speed drive through a pleasant scenery. It was a nice, refreshing match, which is actually what it should be. If you're going to be between 2 title matches, it should be something that doesn't take too much energy to watch. Not too exciting, but not too boring. And they even got "This is awesome" chant in there. So the crowd appreciated them. Toni just needs to do more with the women, Also, the fact that the 1 women's segment came on right before the 1 women's match is something I don't necessarily like. It feels like Tony's like, let's just get all the women's stuff in between the 2 important stuff out of the way. I don't like that. He's got to space them out more. And now we're already at the main event. I swear, this feels so much faster than Raw. Pac versus Orange Cassidy for the AEW All-Atlantic Championship. This match is match of the night for me. I love the women's match because it was nice and relaxing, but this one felt fast-paced. It was fiery. It was energetic. It felt personal. We had Pac. I think Pac and Orange Cassidy might be the best pair of workers in AEW. They are, when I think of the best pair in WWE back in the day, I think of Triple H and Shawn Michaels. You can say HBK and Bret Hart if you want. But But I think Pac and Cassidy have something special because Pac plays along with both being this. He's the straight man of this duo. He can do the comedy from a straight man perspective, and if he wants, he can lean into Orange Cassidy stuff. And he starts doing that in the match. He does the lazy kicks. Orange Cassidy gives him a nice drop kick. They're diving out of the ring. Cassidy is fired up, and I think this is Orange Cassidy's best match in his AEW career. I'm honestly surprised that Cassidy got this title particularly, because I thought he'd be better as a TNT champion. But hey, what are you gonna do? This match just worked for me. I loved it. This was the main event. It sent the crowd home happy. Everybody wanted to see it. And Pac trying to use the hammer, I thought that was a nice little mini storyline. I liked it. So I'm going to go ahead and say that this match had Orange Cassidy blasting through the finish line. What a way to finish. Great way to send the people home. Orange Cassidy is now the All-Atlantic champion. Tupac has ended, but that's okay because I think Orange Cassidy with a title belt is going to be interesting. I think he is the mascot of AEW. And I think if you're going to parade him with a title belt, there's some money to be made there, you know? And now, let us head into the awards of tonight. First off, what was the speed bump of the night? What hurt the show booking-wise? First of all, too many Rampage setups. There are 4 Rampage setups. That time could have gone to the women. I get that you have to, you know, I get Rampage is an hour long, so you can't do the setup there. But I don't know. I think that it took too much time. I think there was 4 setups that just didn't need to happen. It kind of messed with the flow a little bit for me. There were a lot of dirty finishes. The only clean finishes were the women's tag match and the main event. So it just, I don't know. It was, the crowd made this night feel like the matches were better than they were, and they made the finishes seem better than they were. And also book more women. That is something that's constant. That's a constant problem with AEW. Book more women. One tag match that did not have any stakes does not count it. You know, doesn't cut it, even if it was a great tag match. Who gets the banana peel tonight? Who brought the show to a stop? Honestly, no one. I think everyone who showed up tonight did their job. Even the setups. Like, even if they were there for like a short segment, I think everyone showed up. I don't think anyone flopped tonight. Flop, 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 flop. I don't think anyone slipped and ruined it, you know? So, I'm going to say that no one gets the banana peel. And who gets the golden mushroom of tonight? First off, the live crowd. Because I'll be honest with you, this episode gets like a B+ for me. Maybe an A-, but that's because of the crowd. The crowd made everything better. They were loud, they were electric. They were a part of the show almost as much as the wrestlers, you know? And I know that that's a saying, that the crowd is a part of the show. But this one, it felt like the crowd, it felt like they were paid to be there because they were really making noise. They were hyped up. So hopefully we go back to Canada more because they made this show better than I think it was if it was anywhere else. Next up, the Acclaimed, the hottest act in AEW right now. The crowd loved them. I am willing to bet their merch is like the top seller. They're getting referenced on Monday Night Raw. It was amazing. The Acclaimed are in their element right now. I never thought Swerve and Keith Lee would be eclipsed by anyone, but the Acclaimed have done it. They have earned their spot right now with scissors and ass. That's all they needed. And of course, Pac and Orange Cassidy, they get the golden mushroom too, because quite frankly, that match was great. That was their best match together. That was Orange Cassidy's best match together, and that was the perfect way to send the crowd home. So props to Pac and Orange Cassidy. And before we go, we're going to go ahead and we're going to look into the chat because we got some questions. We got some stuff to talk about. But if you're watching this after we've gone live, be sure to leave a comment, because quite frankly, we're no good without you. The golden mushroom from the WCP goes to you. We need you. Now, Carnage Rage has a question. Let's see what it is. He says it's right above Zach's. Blah, 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 blah. I don't see it. I do not see it, Carnage. I'm sorry. Send it to me one more time as I answer prime times. Did you know WWE almost bought ROH? I do. I know they looked into it. I don't know if I'm glad they didn't, because I think I'm glad they didn't, because even though ROH now is very different than what it was under Tony Khan, I don't think it would exist without, if WWE bought it. I think they would just scrap it and keep the footage, unless they turn ROH into their developmental, like ROH becomes NXT. But that would be interesting. Thank you all for joining Primetime. I appreciate your questions. Zach, be sure to let me know when you drop that review, because I want to see it. I would love to know what Zach thinks about Halloween Ends. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the show here. If you want to see the meme intro short that I put before the actual video intro, check out our shorts. If you want to see more videos from us at the West Coast POPcast, hit the subscribe button. If you have any questions, leave it in the chat, leave it in the comments. I will answer when this video is done. Thank you for watching. Have a great night, and I'll see you, I guess, this weekend for the next episode of the West Coast POPcast. Stay safe out there.